Welcome, I'm Priyanka, and on behalf of G5A, I would like to thank you for joining us for Cinema at G5A in its various expressions. We are extremely excited to begin the Acting for Cinema course with the first module on method acting with Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute. Acting for Cinema, an in-depth training course, creates immersive learning experiences for artists to strengthen rigor and innovation in practice. Continued professional education creates space for dialogue, critical examination of one's practice, and refinement of one's craft. The course also encourages coming together of like-minded individuals, creating a network that offers support, guidance, and expertise. This course also marks the beginning of a new and inspiring partnership with the Lee Strasberg Theatre and Film Institute. Established in 1969, the Institute is dedicated to the ideals, values, and vision of Lee Strasberg's innovative work known throughout the world as the method. We would like to invite David Salsa from Lee Strasberg for conversations at G5A with Nikhil Advani and Anuradha Parekh. Welcome, everyone. We'd like to welcome all of you, David Strasberg, Creative Director and CEO of the Strasberg Institutes, and David Salsa, a regional theatre actor. He will be our trainer on site for the first method acting course at G5A. We're also very excited to welcome Nikhil Advani, director and producer making path-breaking content for MA Entertainment, a production company for film and OTT productions. We're thrilled to share that Nikhil joins us at G5A as an advisor for cinema at G5A, and more importantly, as a friend and a co-believer in the potential of rigorous training in the arts. Anuradha Parekh, we'd like to welcome Anuradha Parekh, architect, filmmaker, and founder and artistic director for G5A. Today, they share the experiences of making films, interacting with actors, and the journey of using this extraordinary medium to tell stories that leave an indelible mark on our psyche. Join us to get a deeper understanding of their processes, their struggles, and what the future holds for this medium. It is so wonderful to have all of you here.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
I would first like to ask, I know I'm sure all of us are really curious to know, how have all of you entered this medium of filmmaking?
Should I go?
Sure.
Oh.
And
Yeah,
Nikhil,
so I don't
think
know. I think my journey of entering the world of filmmaking is possibly not as adventurous as the other luminous guests on this panel, but I got into filmmaking to impress my wife, who at that time was my girlfriend. I mean, she's Bengali, and she grew up with Satyajit Ray constantly being watched, and Rabindranath Tagore being spoken about in a house. And I am a Sindhi boy from Bombay, and I said ki I need to impress her, so I gave up my master's in chemistry and I said I want to join films. And 25 years later, she curses that decision that I Yeah, yesterday we went and saw a play at the Prithvi Theatre, which is quite beautiful. And the thing in the play is that she told my daughter that the play was about struggling in Bollywood.
Oh.
And she said, "This is the best play that your father could have showed you. Never marry an actor."
On that wonderful note. Sorry, Anuradha, you're on mute. If I can request you to please unmute. David Strasberg,
Yeah,
you as well. Yes. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, it's funny, we have all these rules about actors and all these beliefs, don't marry an actress, or actors are crazy, or whatever you think. But for me, actors were always family. That this is where I grew up, in the house where everyone around the table was an actor. And after school, I don't know what you guys did after school, but my brother and I would come to the institute or go to the actor studio and sit in an acting class and pick up, wait for my dad to finish, because he always ran late. So we would wait for him to finish as we would pick him up and take him home. So, for me, the actor was never something to to be afraid of, or we didn't understand. Like these are our people.
Right.
You know, and I think one of the things that it allowed me to see quite clearly that I think actually directors and other folks often don't get to see at the beginning, only after you've achieved, like he's achieved, like Nikhil's achieved. Then you start to realize, oh, wow, these actors are just regular people. But your first film is like, oh my goodness, what do I do with those people? And for me growing up, it was really clear around the dinner table, oh, these are human beings. They're just like everyone else. They're scared like everyone else. They're excited like everyone else. They're hungry just like everyone else.
Right.
And I think that's actually always stuck with me, because this notion, not just that they're all the same, even though they might look different, but if that's true, then you have these stories internationally, across the country, across the world, where you realize people are actually the same there too. And sort of the actor's job, what excites me always in it is the actor's job to sort of capture that true thing and offer it to a director so that we can tell this darn story.
Right. Right. No, thank you for sharing.
And
yeah, Anuradha.
For me, it actually started with my father became chairman of the Film Finance Corporation in India, and really set a very different kind of model in place for the FFC, as it was called then, and really encouraged, really began to figure a model that could sustain supporting independent cinema. And I was also very privileged to, through that, get to meet some of the best independent filmmakers, whether it was directors, actors, and writers. And I think, in fact, it was fairly, I would like to think, the golden age or a really special age of art, for art in the 70s, when we had a whole birthing of what we called art cinema. And we had some very, very, as I said, talented and dedicated and committed folk in that community. So for me, I think going on to then producing and working with independent cinema was a natural choice. Having said that, I'm trained as an architect, and I think most architects will agree with me. We think we can sort of cross over and do many different things, especially having been trained at the Rhode Island School of Design. I think they build you into having the possibility of, or at least the confidence to say that I'm happy to work in film, and I'm happy to try other forms of art and not just restrict yourself to the degree that you sort of trained for. So yeah, I think all of those things made me really excited. And cinema is a medium that you tend to fall in love with. So I think it's an incredible mix of magic and passion and technology and architecture as well. So yeah.
So I don't know if you all heard what I just heard, but I think she just said that she's signing up for our acting class.
David,
Yes.
Salsa, are you ready for your student?
Sign me up, man.
you David, you all have specified the minimum age. So I'm thinking I could sort of worm my way in.
I love it. Sign me up. Some of my favorite people to work with actually are people who, I mean, you have experience in film and television, but are people like saying, I have an architecture degree, but acting makes me really curious, because ultimately it comes towards this creativity, whether it's starting on the paper, drawing shapes, or taking Legos or building blocks together. That then turns into artistic expression. And for me, I guess my journey here is centered around my family, who are immigrants from Portugal, no acting, no theater. My dad was like, what the heck is a theater? When I grew up, and I was a person who played sports that got injured and wanted something to do after school, and tried out for the school play, and suddenly found an opportunity to express myself in a new and exciting way, both physically and emotionally. And that led me on a journey of expression and discovery in myself, in both, kind of mind, body, and soul, to learn more about myself, and I went to a method graduate school and studied the method, where I was able to then sort of discover myself as an instrument and as a vessel for creativity, and awaken that kind of talent that was inside of me in a more productive way going forward. And then as I left New York, the world was about theater for me when you live in New York for a while. And I traveled and did theater throughout the country, mostly at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is a large repertory theater. And then eventually decided to move to Los Angeles because the weather was better, but also pursue film and television in that way, to then fulfill or explore in a weird way, my childhood, and the things that got me excited about storytelling, the movies and the sketch comedy, Saturday Night Live, and those different kinds of things that growing up as a kid, Back to the Future, that just made me go, I want to tell stories like that. Yeah. And then ultimately led me to the Institute, where I've been a teacher for the last 8-9 years.
Wow, that's such an exciting story. And yeah, like, speaking of stories, I'd love to know more about how, David, what has been the journey for setting up the Institute?
The Institute really was an embodiment of my dad's work. So I think where he did work, for example, at the Actor Studio, which wasn't a class. Right? So you would come in, and it was for people who were already professional, in a sense, and then would train there, yes, but not systematically. And he was very influenced by visits to Russia. And seeing Stanislavski's work, and then trying to understand. My dad had an interesting mind, where it was, yes, he was into acting, but in a way, a little bit of an architect. He had a bit of that. Some of his early jobs, he used to do the books. It's interesting, David and I both have this in common. Both of my parents are immigrants as well. But my dad used to do the books at a wig making shop. And I think, wow. That would have been his career, as he would have made wigs. And I think but the approach there, was he was thinking systemically, not just how do I make this scene work, right? Because that's not what we do. Training is not how do I make that thing work for you. It's saying, how do I train you to make any scene work? And I think in that way, his brain kind of was moving from solving the problem right in front of me to the bigger problem, which is how do you sustain this work over generations, which you've seen in Russia is quite difficult. It's no knock on what people are doing. It's hard to do. So that's where he created the school with my mother. Excuse me, I've been a little under the weather. But he created the school in 1969. And he was really starting to imagine how to transition the work to the next generations, to my mother, to me, to my brother, to the rest of our family, and to the rest of the world. And that's where he created the school, which had all the elements in it that would say, not just scene work, but literally from the beginning, how do you take a human being, and try to help them train their talent, because that's what it's about. We don't give you talent. No one can give you talent in any area. Yeah. Not in accounting, not in architecture, not in acting, not in directing. But you train yourself to use what you got to its utmost achievement. To achieve the top of whatever you're capable of, And I think what most people realize is they're capable of a lot more than they knew. Capable of a lot more than they knew, you know. But that takes hard work and process, which is really where the school comes in and where we come in.
Yeah, and most of the focus and things that we talk about at G5A every single day is so much focus on process. And obviously it's been a really long journey till then, but Anuradha, if you could share a little bit of the journey of G5A.
Oh boy. So so we started about 7 years ago, and it literally started because you know, I inherited this warehouse, and I figured that this warehouse was just way too big for me to make any good use of it. And I just figured that it needed to become a space for community. And I think that was at the heart of G5A. And I sort of refurbished it in a way that kept and the other important thing to mention is that the warehouse is situated within a mill complex, and the mills were, you know, they sort of set the legacy of Mumbai it became this mercantile city, and it really talked about a lot of history. So the area itself has that poignancy, and it felt right to sort of reconstruct the warehouse, keeping in mind the old mill feel. So it has an interesting architectural feel as well. And we and I felt compelled to sort of make this a black box. So metaphorically and physically, the idea of the fact that it's like a white paper, you know, where you can begin your drawing, or you can really sort of dream any dream. The black box sort of took that kind of, you know, three-dimensional sort of form. And that really was the kernel and beginning of G5A. But of course, very quickly, we added certain other verticals, and we have very now sort of, should I say, clear path in programming and curating. We're trying to do more curatorial work and produce work. We have a very important part of G5A is working with the community and the city. And so we encourage, as you know, India is a complex fabric of people from all kinds of backgrounds and, unfortunately, income groups. So we have a very important, we do a lot of work with our local neighbors and community. And we started through the pandemic, we started Academy, which is our learning arm, which is where we would situate the method acting course. And we've been doing work in theater writing, as well as we're planning other educational things as well. And then we have Imprint, which is our online magazine, which I encourage everyone to check in from our website. So it's really been heartening to see that, you know, over the last 7 years, things have changed. And I think people are ready and open to more experimental work. You know, I hope that we can have spaces like this supported even more, so that we are able to really push boundaries in terms of expression and innovation.
No, and I have to thank you for making the warehouse what it is today. While it could have been so many things, the way it becomes so many things today is so much more special.
Thank you.
Nikhil, very, very excited to know about your experience in working in films for so long. Nikhil, sorry, you're on mute. Could I request you to unmute, please?
Yeah, so what can I say? It's been 30 years now. I'm 30th year in working in the Bollywood film industry, in the Indian film industry. But I think that the reason that I'm so attracted to what Anuradha has started at G5A is basically like is basically I had the good fortune of trailing the greats like Saeed Mirza, Sudhir Mishra, Kundan Shah when I was an assistant director, going with them to film festivals and watching films with them, and then just hanging out and whether it was having a cup of chai in between films, or then after all the films were over, and watching these great men and great directors wax eloquent over the whiskeys and wine. I think young filmmakers miss that today, because this whole multiplex this thing is, and so the whole concept of film festivals is out of the window. It doesn't happen anymore. It's become it's very difficult to access film festivals, and I think that what I would like to try and do along with Anuradha at G5A is make that experience more accessible.
Right.
So I think that one of the things that we want to do at G5A, other than this wonderful acting course, which we can talk about a little later, is the cinema house, which we are planning to do over a period of year, every week, a weekend, every month, where we'll be showing some very interesting films. And that's where even the acting course and the method acting course falls in, because most of the films that we will be showing will have wonderful actors who have had access to other, to the limited specialized acting courses at the FTII or at NSG. So in our own city, we don't have this kind of opportunity that G5 is now going to be giving to young actors, to be able to access such a great process and such a great acting this thing, which normally they would have to go to either New York or LA, or which for most people is quite unaffordable. Most young actors is quite unaffordable. So to be able to do that in South Bombay is quite phenomenal. I really think that this is really truly a wonderful experience for the 16 actors that are going to have that chance to do that.
Right.
Great.
Right.
It's going to be good fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we'll get some better acting in Bollywood.
If I can jump in on that.
Yes, please.
Because it's interesting. We need spaces, and I think we're trying to figure out what's a virtual space. What does that mean? Like we're in this transition, trying to understand it. But I think in a world that is hard, the world is hard everywhere, and then you have illness, and you have poverty, and you have stress. I mean, anywhere that you don't have great poverty, you have incredible other stress. Like it seems we can't get a break anywhere. And I think most people walk around very much alone. So they have dreams, they have visions, maybe perhaps, and they're alone with those things. And to have a space, I think, the original Actor Studio was an old church. Our school in LA was an old bank.
Wow.
These kinds of spaces, and a bank and a photo processing lab. The New York, what used to be old apartments, that's now an acting, our school in New York. It helps to have spaces, these warehouses, a place to actually go. But we have to figure out, how do we connect people? Because I think that's why today, more than ever, all the digital and virtual, right? But people still feel alone. You can connect to anyone, anywhere, and yet we feel alone. And I think that's the challenge for directors. And I think, by the way, directors have gotten quite innovative. I think style is changing in beautiful ways. I think there's experimentation. I think you see, actually having streaming channels and YouTube, and so you've got television, film. It all starts to give you a broader space to play a little bit. But then you need actors who can carry that. You need actors who can fulfill on his vision, because people really need to get more connected.
Right.
And I think that's where, certainly where we try to help an actor. How does the actor connect to the story? How do you connect to this moment that's going on right now? Because through you, the whole audience connects. If you're not connected to it, it's hard for the audience to connect to it. And then how do you help a director by not just saying, what do you want me to do, but, show up with talent and vision so they can say, oh, a little more of that, a little less of that. Hold that back, great. And you give them something to work with, but all in this pursuit of connectivity and integration and community, I think.
Yeah,
That's very, very, very special, actually. I think especially after what we've been through with COVID and all of that, I think it makes it even more palpable. So I think it's that's amazing. Yeah.
We've had a lot more architect-like folks recently started coming in, and they're saying, you know what, after this whole thing, the heck with it. I realized I'm going to do what I really wanted to do.
Yeah,
and I have to tell you, some of the best people we have in the building are second or third career people. Someone who was a business person here, then they sold blue jeans over there, and they had a plant or whatever, and now they're acting. And you're like, wow, that guy's really good. He's really good, but they're just over it,
Yeah.
Acting. I don't think acting is, or when David talks about awakening creativity or teaching talent in the method, I don't think it's always about your whole life, and David might get mad at me for saying this because we are a school, but it's not about taking classes every day of your whole life.
Right.
It is about experiencing life and then taking a class like we're going to do with you guys, and taking the experience in your life and the things that have happened from childhood all the way up to today, and how can we make the spark purer, truer, and how can we get an audience to feel what you're feeling and go through and understand and connect to what you're showing us, or what you're telling us, what you're experiencing, not showing but experiencing.
And I have no disagreement with that at all. Listen, if you go to university, full-time study at university, 16 hours a week, 20 hours of class. 20 hours of class that's a lot of in the classroom time. Most of your life is spent out of the classroom.
Yeah.
So it's not about saying, oh, I went to class to learn something. You go to class to guide your life, so that you can learn something in class that teaches you how to be. Like, our work is at its best, you're not acting. And then forget about the acting, less acting. It's a way of being, in a way, in a certain place, alive in a certain conversation. And that is something you have to practice, as David points out, outside of class. You go, oh, I see how that's working. Let me go to the grocery store, not in character. You don't have to spend your whole life in character. You go to the grocery store as you, and you try to use these acting skills of being really present, being really alive, allowing the world to touch you, maybe allowing your imagination to add a little bit to that world to make it a more beautiful place. I think this is all part of it, but you're right. A lot of it happens outside of class, but we need the spark somewhere. You get the spark, so you don't have to be in class every day, but you should be learning every day.
True. And before we get into class, what do you think with method acting, with the experience that you've had of so many actors over the years, what, according to both of you, has been the contribution to filmmaking? If you could run through some examples, or we know there's immense contribution, but if we could really sort of look at some of the things where we've changed perspectives, or we've changed the ways of being for people as a result of this kind of training.
Well, I think the film history side of it is sort of speaks for itself in a lot of ways. But I think you saw things happen in the last century that are happening again. I think, in a way, this evolution, right, where you had films where everyone was one thing, men were men, women were women, everyone looked this exact way, and really we didn't want you to do too much. We just wanted you to look a certain way, and that was really the job. Look a certain way, speak a certain way. And then we started to see, most people don't remember today, the first generation. We remember James Dean or Marilyn Monroe because they, but before then it was John Garfield. It was like maybe the first. People who felt a little different. I think James Dean may have been a beautiful man. He was. I mean, look, that's a good looking man right there. But he didn't feel like one of, like, oh, here are me and all my buds. Of course, I am so well taken care of. He felt like he was on the outside. Marilyn felt like she was on the outside. I think there are all these folks who have an experience. And then you had filmmakers like Elia Kazan, Sidney Lumet, certainly Coppola, evolving into the 70s, I think, and then you have a whole nother, you end up with Scorsese's and Spielberg's, and you have all this, but people are trying to capture something. They're trying to capture it in the 50s. And I think the reason we still talk about James Dean today, even though his career was quite short, and he was a great actor, was he greater than some of the other folks around him? I don't know, but it was the partnership with the material that people felt seen. Generations of young people. Today, even, I still have kids who come in and they're dressed like James Dean. They don't know they're playing Dean, but they walk in the white t-shirt, the blue jeans.
Yeah.
That essence.
And I'm like, oh, wow. When you see Dean, you still see yourself.
Right.
And that was 70 years ago. So I think that's this evolution has happened where we wanted to start telling stories about things that we knew. The story didn't have to be about a king or a queen. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. We wanted to see stories that we understood. And I think you needed actors then who could actually bring their life to the story. And that evolved. I think it's gotten more and more theatrical. I think you can see someone like Tarantino certainly is an interesting example. I think because it's so stylized. I always tell my actors, they bring in a Tarantino scene. I go, wait a second. Like, do you not understand what this director's doing? This isn't kitchen sink. This has a tempo and a genre in a way, a style that you need to embody, and that actually takes more technique, not less. It's not more faking. It's actually more technique to be really rooted, and you can see someone like a good method actor like a Christoph Waltz who is thriving, bringing this subtle detail to this very stylized work that Tarantino's doing, and it's really a beautiful combination. That's why he's in every Tarantino film now, because he works so beautifully with the style. And I think that'll help directors. That'll help this next generation coming forward of storytellers, because they can bring vision. And I think the visuals today are amazing. The way the architecture of film is, and even TV is phenomenal today. But to bring the humanity to that, the director needs help. So
no, that's very well
put. To do today what we did then.
And I think sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, to jump off what David was saying of the director needing help, is because the director's responsibility is so much bigger today than it was 50 years ago, because now there's special effects and so many other things that a director is being asked to think about, that the individual actor has to be even more awake and aware of their instrument to be able to give something that can be captured on the camera in a way that helps illuminate a story. And whether you're talking about someone like Marilyn Monroe, whose beauty is undeniable, it's her humanity that has made her last forever, right? It is her humanity and her personhood that we are attached to and in love with, right? Nobody, you watch a movie and you're not like, that person was so attractive, I loved their performance. It's the way that person loved the other character, or why they made the choices that they made, makes me love this character. Oh yeah, and they're also really attractive. In that kind of way.
And with the struggles of the directors, Anuradha and Nikhil, both of you, I think, started working with films at a time when things had taken a different turn for filmmaking in India. What were your challenges and struggles?
Well, I don't know, in the sense that the thing is that in India, the so-called I think it's Bollywood imitates Hollywood in a large way, which is that whole mainstream versus independent cinema, and the mainstream versus arty, or what is called art cinema and independent cinema, right? And Bollywood, the mainstream cinema, somewhere or the other, is all prevalent, right? In the sense that the whole singing, dancing, running around trees, etc., and larger than life melodrama, etc. But I think what has happened is, with the advent of OTT, which has happened over the last 5 to 6 years, what would be considered to be, or who would be considered to be a actor versus a star, has slowly started getting blurred, right? Because, and I think that's where acting schools, I mean, the Strasberg Institute has been like the mecca of acting, right? For anybody has gone there, come out, and it's like it's like gold standard that you're carrying on your chest, or wearing on your chest, and you're saying that, yeah, I've come from here and I know the method. So what has happened with OTT is suddenly the audience at large has discovered actors, right? Has discovered actors, and I say, hey, where were these guys? They were playing so-called secondary actor or character roles only. They were only standing behind the big mega star, as a best friend or a father or a brother, etc. But now they are they're leading men. And I think thanks to the process of method and acting schools, and these actors have suddenly now become household names. So where I started from, and unfortunately today we are thriving with being able to tell very different stories with wonderful actors, right? I mean, I think that a big example would be that somebody like an Irfan Khan, may his soul rest in peace, never went to he went to NSG, but he didn't go to Strasberg. But I mean, if you work with him, he was completely into method. He was and possibly because of the life that he had lived, the struggles that he had gone through. When you told him to approach a scene, he knew exactly what he wanted to, what he was thinking about, right? What you wanted, because he had lived that. He had experienced that. He had experienced that struggle. He had experienced that pain. He had experienced that happiness. He had experienced everything. So when he brought that thing, it was refreshing. It's extremely refreshing. And honestly, Priyanka, for somebody who has worked with Shah Rukh Khan, right, and I have worked with Shabana Azmi, I mean, literally, even though Shah Rukh is a mega star, when you spoke to him, because he read so much and he reads so much and he's experienced so much. It's only that. It's what David was just saying. It's about the experience and how you can hone that experience into something which is very, very palpable and very, very, very organic in a scene, which makes you suddenly sit up and say, wow, I didn't think that this person is going to approach it like that, which is happening right now in Indian cinema.
On that point too, sometimes I like to annoy my British friends by saying that every great actor is a method actor, and they get all worked up. But in a way, it's true, not because while we may have trained a lot of great actors, we didn't train every great actor, right? And there were great actors before us. But what you're describing is that, the method is not an idea. Oh, I have this idea about what we should do to act, and I think it's a good idea. It's actually, it came from what are great actors doing when they are acting great, so they can train to do that more consistently. And I think, Anthony Hopkins came and spoke to the students a while back, and I mean, Tony was great, like such a sweet man, and I mean, most people were scared of him because of Silence of the Lambs. Yeah. So no one wanted to come too close, but he came, he was so delightful and polite. But he trained in, old English theater, essentially, right? This old British tradition. And he says, well, first I have to relax. That's my problem. First thing I do is I have to relax. And I went, well, that's our first exercise. It's a relaxation exercise. Okay, all right. And then he says, and then I'm going through and I'm reading and I'm like, oh, I understand this. I had a conversation like that. He's personalizing the whole thing, this whole script, he's personalizing. And he starts going through his process. And I go, oh, it's a method process. Even though he didn't train in the method, he found his way, because really great acting is about that. It's some sort of connection that you discover. Hopefully you have a great partner with your director who actually gives you some insight and a way in, so you have this collaboration, with the writer and the director. The words can inspire you in it. But I do think that this is something that, while we have trained some wonderful Indian actors, people find it, because it's what works. And the great actors have always found something that worked.
Mm.
And I think what is going to be interesting, David, also for you when you come to Bombay, is really, I think there'll be a wonderful mix of participants, because we, as you may know, we have a history of performance, way back with folk theater and our mythological productions, and all of that was very larger than life, and had to be very, very, literally very loud, apart from all the way the form evolved. So I think, we have that kind of history, and a lot of us do carry that. I think, Nikhil, I don't know if I'm right on that, but some of us still carry that kind of performing, the louder the better. And, and we just felt, and I have to say, mention that our other friend, Feroz Khan, who's also a director and filmmaker and works in theater as well as cinema, he's the one who actually brought this idea to me when we were discussing, various things about cinema. And he said, it would be quite wonderful if we had a course which specialized in acting for cinema, because we have so much of television, so much of theater acting, and all of that we don't have our own kind of vocabulary. And I think what we hope to do with this program is really to begin to help actors in India develop a contemporary idiom and contemporary vocabulary that is rooted and can evolve into a really contemporary form of performance, and that would be very exciting.
Absolutely.
I love
that.
Sorry, so what actually I'm very excited about, David, and is because of the kind of encouragement that we are getting more and more as filmmakers and storytellers from the platforms, the Amazon, Netflix, and the Hulus, and Sony of the world, that we are that their approach is that you guys cast actors, cast unknown actors. Why are we running after the mega stars and stars? We can't afford them. We don't want, and they don't. They feel that it is somewhat of a my career is over in cinema, so I'm going to be doing OTT and live streaming and platform kind of work, whatever. But what is interesting, David, is and I think that when David, when you come to Mumbai, is that what I'm really is how to give an audition. Because when I see close to 100 auditions in a week for the various parts and shows that we are doing, and most of them don't know how to do an audition, because and it's not so much also the actor who's in front of the camera, is most of the casting directors don't know how to take an audition. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that Anuradha and I have been talking about is possibly getting you to interact with some of the top casting directors that I would like to put together, and somewhere give insight to them, guys. This is how you take an audition. This is how you make an actor feel comfortable. This is how you get them to get into the part. This is how you take a brief from the director or the direction team, and you say, because otherwise everything looks so generic. The guy coming on is this thing, and okay, it's a sad scene, so now they do a sad scene. Oh, it's a happy scene, now do a happy. Oh, it's a scene. So I'm saying, if that can be, if we can work on that, I think it will really do wonders to the audition process.
I mean, I need to teach that class here too, because I feel like a lot of times in class, I'm talking to actors about how to deal with casting directors who are like on the phone and emailing while looking at you, right? Sort of that exaggerated version of the casting director. And I think I love what you're saying, because an actor, and a young actor, a new actor, an actor who wants to be discovered or grow their career, the thing that they get focused on most of the time is doing it right, or perfection. And what they end up doing is they end up withholding the gift of themselves to the casting director and to the audition. And so by being able, so in my audition class that I teach right now, I'm always talking about you being enough and playing a character as the best version of what's inside of you. There's the things of the character that you have to play, and there's the things about you that you can add to this character. And if I play the character, it'll be a little different because I'm different than you. And so finding, and David says this, that we're training your talent, right? Everybody is a unique thing in the world, right? You're a unicorn. Everyone's their own unicorn, and we're trying to teach you to be the best version of yourself, and where, and in pushing your talent forward, because ultimately in a casting session, I think actors need to kind of, like we were saying about James Dean and Marilyn Monroe, they need to share their humanity with a casting director, not try and give the casting director what they want. That doesn't mean we throw the script in the wastebasket and ignore the story, but it's your version of that story, and to own the casting session in a way. My wife gave me some of the best auditioning advice I had, because my wife works for Netflix, but she doesn't work in casting. But she said to me one time, I said, man, I get so nervous when I sometimes with auditions, and it just ticks me off. And she goes, well, how do you want to feel? And I said, I want to feel like I do when I teach a class, because I've taught enough classes now to where I'm really comfortable in the room. She goes, great, walk into a casting session and teach them how to do the scene. And I was like, and now I walk in there and I'm like, hello, everyone. How are we doing today? Let me know when you're ready. And just that little mindset. And as David said, the method is there, right? The method is always there, and we're always practicing it, whether we know it or not, whether Anthony Hopkins knows it or not. Geometry's always existed, and we've used it whether we knew it or not. And so we're trying to find that way to share ourselves, and I'm excited to work with your students and to go. I've never been to India before, so I'm very excited about this opportunity to sort of work with students who have this background of when you talk about the history and the fast-paced and go of it, to say, great, you have this wonderful, rigorous practice in yourself to practice something 1,000 hours, right? Whether it's a dance in a movie or the lines. Now let's take that practice, let's take that energy and put it towards truth, and see what we can discover in yourself that can help highlight a story in a way and make the audience go, I get that. And when you talk about the future of cinema, it's these cultural, personal, international stories that are becoming the really exciting thing. I think Bong with Parasite proved that by winning Best Picture. You know, we're interested in stories no matter what language and what country, as long as it's a story that we can relate, connect, and feel as we watch it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So well put. And I have to say, we're really excited to have you over as well. And yeah, Anurag and David, what are your plans for India in the way that you're bringing this course here, or the beginning of this partnership? What does it look like for the near future?
Yeah, so we're learning. You know, we're learning. I said you better learn every day. Well, I'm included in that. I get to learn every day. So we're learning you guys. I think we're really excited to get started. You know, I mean, I think there's nothing really we want more than a room full of actors. You know, like, you want to get me and David excited. You're like, oh, I got these 16 actors who are really hungry. We're like, oh my goodness, yes. And I think as much as people there need to learn the method, I think we need to learn. You know, I've been to Mumbai. Yes, I've taught a fairly large number of Indian students, but that's different than really getting to know the space. You know, I mean, the fact that I happen to love Bahubali doesn't really qualify me as an expert. But but there's a lot, I think, for all of us to learn. So really, we're looking to do more, right? To get more involved, to be able to come back. Hopefully, you know, to be able to have a regular presence would be really what we'd hope for. And I think that just takes learning all around to figure out how do we best serve this group, because you know, the other thing that is a challenge, I think, when we go there or an Indian actor comes to us in LA or New York, is I don't want that Indian actor trying to become Pacino.
Exactly.
Like he already did that. Pacino already did Pacino. Like he's, you know, he's earned his work. And I think it is hard because I don't want you to give up anything in a sense. Like I don't want you to lose your roots. You know, I don't want you to lose what is unique to you. And I think David said that quite powerfully, but I don't just mean like opinions. I think this and I think that. I mean, like your makeup, like the soil that you rose from is unique. And and by the way, you to your sister and your brother right next to you, all different. And you kind of want to honor that because that's a contribution. Rather than looking like what you think I want or what David wants or what you think Hollywood wants. Hollywood is trying to learn also. And they're saying, oh, wait, there are all these stories that we haven't really paid attention to, and they're great stories. So they're actually looking for each one of those 16. They don't know it yet, but Hollywood's looking for them because they're trying to discover these stories. So that doesn't mean looking and sounding like me. You know, that means finding your vision. You know, seeing looking at things with a creative eye, with your whole body in a way as an actor, which I think is super exciting. And there's a lot of room for all of us to grow there.
And David, this is actually exactly why we are excited about the method, because I think it really allows that kind of integrity to remain. And I think that's something that I hope we can have a continued engagement and really build this ecosystem in that kind of way, which is respectful of the roots of each person's individual narratives, as well as, you know, really grow and become a contemporary practitioner. So I think we're all very, very excited.
Well, you had me when you said warehouse.
Yes.
I started to imagine. I was like, warehouse. I was, oh yes, these are my people. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, but David, you know what that means. You have to come yourself too.
I would love to come. I would love to come.
So we look forward to getting you over soon.
So do I. I look forward to it also. Yeah.
Wonderful.
No, this I think it's so fabulous. With all the thoughts and ideas that you've been sharing, I feel lessons in knowing that we're enough is something that all of us need as a reminder every single day. We're living deeply. We hope and wish that through all the work that we're doing, we find better ways of being and better ways of interacting with each other and sort of connecting with each other in the truest sense possible. Yeah, we do know that the course that we're starting, Acting for Cinema, the module 1 is on method acting. And we're hoping that we'll have a lot of people interested, a lot of people participating. We've opened up submissions already, and we're inviting audition tapes of all kinds. It's very encouraging already to have people coming in. If we could very quickly talk about some of the things that the participants can expect at the end of the course, that will be really helpful.
Do you want me to take this? Okay.
Yes, please.
So in this world of being yourself or awakening your talent and creativity, there is still hey, how do I get a job, or what do I do? We're not going to tell you how to get a job, but what we are going to do is we're going to work towards helping you be able to deliver on set. We're going to help you create habits that give an authenticity of truth, One of the things that I think is interesting about, or that my minimal understanding of the work in India is that you guys work really, really fast on set. And so I was on the closest thing to that here is probably soap operas, where they're shooting like 16 hours a day. And I've done one episode of a soap opera, and I was there for 4 hours, and I barely remember it because it moves so fast. But it's that thing of, so how do we, in the moment, create something that the camera can capture of us? We're going to start that process because it's a lifelong process. In working in a method class, we're going to work on you going on a sense of discovery in your relaxation and sensory, to start to discover what is my body telling me, what is my brain and body's conversation, and make those sort of discoveries that we then can use towards our work. You know, why is it that when I get angry, I ball up my fist? Or, oh, look at that. Maybe some people don't even know it. Oh, look, I ball up my fist when I get angry. And we could see that that becomes sort of a physical pathway into our emotional truth. The other things, you know, just sort of, there will be the process of what the method is, and then I'll be teaching a method class, but I'll also be teaching an on-camera class. And in the on-camera class, I'll sort of put a little bit of a different hat on and talk more about the product and in delivering on set. And my understanding is we'll be working with scripts that will cross through both classes, so that we can explore, discover, and then say, okay, here's what might be wanted in the scene. Let's see how we get there. And then I loved that you were talking about, Anuradha, about a vocabulary and terms. You know, we'll explore that. And there's the conventional theater terms, but there's also other terms that we could use that just feel more natural, right? Subtext is a great word, but I don't walk around in my daily life and go, you know, when I talked to my wife today, my subtext was, I had a thought or an idea.
That's the difference between you and me, David.
Yes, you do. Yes. Traditional. David, yeah.
My wife talks to me and I say, am I missing subtext on this one? Are you telling me something else?
Absolutely.
Yeah, she loves it when I do that. Loves it.
I have the opposite. I asked her, did you not get the subtext?
Oh.
I like that.
See, you be careful though, Nikhil, because if you do that, then she'll say no because you're not a good enough actor. You know?
I'm not a good enough actor.
But
I do
yeah,
hope, I do hope that all of us are able to sort of at least understand each other better at the end of this course.
Bianca, though, if I could say, you said that a couple of times, something about that, like connecting, how we connect with people. Training, you can't connect with someone else before you can connect with yourself.
So, yeah.
And this is important, not because, oh, I am so important. It's not a diva thing. It's actually because this is going to be in the way between me and you. So I can't get to you without coming through the lens of me. So if this thing is shut off, I won't make it to you.
Yeah.
All you will get is a pretense of me. And I think that's where David's very right to be pointing out these sort of different tracks, right? There's one part of the work which is really going deep in you. This is instrument work. This is you understanding your own sensations, how the energy, by the way, people don't talk enough about energy. You know, it got edited out of Stanislavski's work because of the censors in Russia. But, you know, he spent time with Indian yogis trying to study energy. You know, and so I think you see some of that in our relaxation work, how we are trying to follow physical energy in the body. That's personal. That's not a role. That's literally like the athlete training their own body and working out. And then he takes you, I mean, you're really lucky to get, I'm so glad we got David out there, because I think as someone who really understands this transition to camera, you know, so you can do the artistic work and you will do artistic work. And then you've got to say, okay, great. You know, we talked about our parents being immigrants. Yeah, you better deliver. So you do this deep dive, and now how do I take that and actually deliver something that's useful? That has, there's a story, you know, there's an arc, you know, there are beats, there's some structure, all those things.
Yeah, at some point it's time to go to work.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Sorry, you guys are getting me excited talking about training. So.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the method that is 100 years old process of working on acting, and now people who are like, hey, want to make a movie on our phone, right? And that's the thing that fascinates me about acting and the progression and the evolution of this practice.
I think I saw Nikhil just cringe over there.
I know. And I'm
He's like, what do you mean? Your lighting's terrible. Oh, sorry.
My lighting is terrible. I'm a bad actor. That's why I don't work behind the camera very much. Yeah. But I am so nervous and so excited to work with you guys. I'm truly nervous because it's going to be a whole new world for me, but I'm super excited to learn, to share and learn with you guys. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
We're all really excited. And I have to say, this has been an extremely invigorating conversation. It seems like a start of a great relationship. It seems like a start of many, many more conversations. We look forward to having all of you over and over again, and hopefully soon in person at the warehouse. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And David, we'll look after you. So if you not to worry.
Good.
But I hear you. And I think it's
actually
we're all nervous and excited because it's something that we've also set very high expectations from all of us that, I know with this kind of energy, we're going to make it work. So
nervousness
wonderful.
Nervousness is usually a level of caring too. So I think we're all going into this workshop with a lot of excitement, caring, and love to bring something to people.
Absolutely. So Priyanka, with your permission.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you
guys.
Thank you.